All right. Thank you to the panelists. So I'll ask the panelists to introduce themselves, their names, and the organizations that they represent and what they do. Maybe we can start from the far right.
Thank you very much. My name is Godfrey Chinoera. I'm the CEO of Zimbabwe Agricultural Development Trust. I'm happy to be here and to be contributing to the topic for today. As ZADT, we've had some involvement, and in our current programming, I think it's also part of my learning, because we would like to do more actually in with BSMS. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Sangai Gutusa. I'm with K International. I also brought my colleagues here. I have Joseph and Obed. So as SK International, we are also implementing the ISALs, or rather call them VSNLs, Village Savings and Lending. It has been an interesting journey. We have faced some challenges here and there, and also some successes. I think mainly due to our economic environment. Otherwise, we are also here to learn how we can improve in terms of what we are doing with the VSNLs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. My name is Godfrey Chitambo. I work at the ZAMFI Secretariat. ZAMFI is the association, the motherboard of all the MFIs in Zimbabwe. Those who do right, those who do bad, they are all our members. I can't disown them here. I can only talk about the other thing, but here I can't disown them. So we get the ululations, we get the blame, what happened in the sector. With the ISLs, at one stage, we seemed to burn our way to a very flourishing relationship. And then it fizzled out. So today I'm trying to find out exactly what happened and where is it and how can we pick up the pieces. You know, people have been saying a lot of bad things, COVID lockdowns. It starts with us. I think let's do what works. Because in our case, we used to see that if they are properly trained, they were very good business for our members. Our job is to lend out money and recover that money. To train groups in group formation, constitution forming, conflict resolution, how to save, how not. Somebody is good at that. And that's why we're very happy, because I know it was care. And when I talked to this colleague of mine, I was not very, because the only one person I knew in care, that's the guy I knew, you know. And he was doing a good job. And our members used to find a very good favor and pleasure working with the care-nurtured ISALs. But it just went up. So I think today, thank you for bringing us out here. I think we are going to have some MFIs here. I don't know. Are there any MFIs who are already here? They're from which one? Anyway, there are about 10 who are supposed to be here. So I think as they come in, if you don't know me, you are supposed to know me. And when you see me, you're supposed to say, Igwe. You see? But anyway, I'm here. Elliot, I didn't see you. This COVID makes everybody ugly, you know. You look horrendous, but anyway, it's all right.
All right. Thank you so much for the introduction. It's exciting to see the passion from ZAMF and also to FK, who are the pioneers of ISALs represented. I look forward to the discussion already. My name is Rodney Mshongachwari, and I'll be the facilitator for this forum. I'll ask the audience who are, I would also want to welcome participants who are online. We have participants that are online. Welcome to the forum. I would want to ask the audience, participants that are represented physically, at least to introduce yourselves so that the panelists have an idea who's represented here. Maybe we can start from there.
Good afternoon. My name is Nicole Badri. I'm the Sales and Marketing Manager for Hammond Alternative Services. Afternoon, I'm Natalia Posa. I'm representing pediatrics.
Good afternoon, my name is Sabina Highland. I'm also here. I'm the project coordinator for pediatrics. We are working with 5,600 mostly farmers and their business and also license.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Frederick Weyer. I work at the Embassy of Switzerland. We support a number of programs, and some of them include this village saving and learning groups. Thank you.
Afternoon, my name is Edith Jayo. I'm from CBZ Agribusiness Relationship Manager there.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Oscar Pajarabanga. I'm CBZ Agribusiness Relationship Manager.
Good afternoon, I'm Dr. Precious from the Zimbabwe Resilience Building Fund based in Tanzania.
Hello everyone. I'm Ismail Moyo from the Resilience Building Project, supporting the youth ISO specialist.
Afternoon, everyone. I'm Lakama Edson from Zekarabek, Melan in Bulawayo.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Elliot Tekaindisa. I'm a committee member of the Marketing Leaders Association. They are not representing it.
Good afternoon. My name is Ndegezi Mtunzi. This is the Financial Services Advisor on SNV on the air project that is sponsored by the Swiss.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joseph Muroiwa. I'm the market specialist for the Zetara BF ACRAS project under K International.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Robert Coach, business development specialist for the Zetara BF ACRAS project.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sophia Myers from EcoCash Holdings. I'm General Manager for Sales.
All right. Thank you so much for the introductions. We are going to jump into the discussion. I'm going to start with you, Fungai. What is an ISO? What is an ISO for the understanding of some members, participants who don't understand what an ISO is?
Okay, thank you, Rodney. So an ISO, we can refer to it as a group of individuals who have a common interest of saving some money, and this group can be about 10 to 15 people. Some can actually go up to as high as 20, but with our experience of managing the ISOs, we realized that 10 to 15 is actually a manageable group. So these people, they come together, they want to save some money into a fund that they contribute. For us, we say on a monthly basis, and these funds are offered to the group members as loans, and then they pay back with an interest, a very low interest, so that this money actually grows. And the members can also engage in income generating activities so as to actually raise the money for the savings, and also to grow money for like profits that they can also use for other household things, and also what they want to use for. So I can say in summary, that's what we call ISOs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Where have you established this in Zimbabwe? And over how many years has been care establishing these groups? Maybe we can focus on one of the best districts that you have successfully implemented the ISO.
Okay, so I can say Care International in Zimbabwe started around 1992 when it started on humanitarian action, that is giving people food aid and so forth. But then later, care evolved into developmental issues, which is around 1998. I think my colleagues here can confirm if I'm correct. Then that's when care started this ISOs in many different parts of Masvingo province, actually, and now we've also moved to Midlands and parts of Manicaland. So what I can say with Care International, the ISAL is actually a component of the many developmental projects. For example, I can give an example of the ZRBF project. In Care, we have ECRAS and the CRIMS, which is Chiredzi, Mwenezi, Shavani, and Berengwa, where we are actually implementing, where we are having those ISALs. We train groups and mentor the groups. We build their capacity so that they actually continue in terms of savings and until maybe they reach some maturity level. Yeah, into producer groups. The what do we call them? The circles. Yeah.
How many groups have you established under ECRAS? If you have the figure.
Under ECRAS, we have 400 and yeah,
403 groups.
Yes. Under ECRAS.
This is under ECRAS.
Maybe Obet, you can call.
1,000?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Maybe for the benefit of the participants, we're using abbreviations ECRAS, ECRIMS. Which districts are we talking about?
Okay, the ECRAS project is
Chiredzi and Mwenezi.
Chiredzi and Mwenezi.
Yes.
Then the ECRIMS.
Shavani and Berengwa.
Shavani and Berengwa. Would you have a figure of estimate value that these groups gathered savings? Would you have an estimate figure?
I'll ask my colleagues to actually read the actual figures we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just give you a figure for the quarter, the previous quarter, which is from January to March. For Chiredzi and Berengwa, with a total of 990,262 rands.
Yeah, that's Chiredzi and Mwenezi.
262 rands. Most of the farmers of the communities usually use rands for Chiredzi and Mwenezi. So that was the total of the project just for that quarter.
Okay.
Yes, for ECRIMS, the annual portfolio, when we have our peak periods, of course, not taking into account some of those challenges. With a period when we have a shareouts of around 3,087,020, when they share out in December, was mostly the groups, when they start their savings, they start in January. Some of them, they can do a share out after 6 months in June, but the majority of them, they do their share out at the end of the year. That's where we can now tabulate enough database how much portfolio saved from all these groups.
It is just to add on what you just said, the figure which I gave is just a quarterly contribution, but they are also saving in form of assets, what we call asset-based savings. For example, some are actually saving in the form of cattle, in form of goats, in form of chickens, pigs, and so forth, in response to the current changes in the economy. Like in total, for Chiredzi and Mwenezi, we've got about 65 heads of cattle that have been bought by the communities, 2,540 goats, 8,212 chickens, and 24 pigs. Those are some of the assets which they managed to acquire to date. It's from 2016 when this ECRAS project started to date.
All right.
Sir, would you just summarize that for the listeners?
Yeah. Thank you so much, the care team. So from the summary that I got, under ECRAS, the groups managed to save in excess of about 99,000 rands.
No, 990,000.
990,000.
Yeah.
262
rands.
Yes, it's just for one quarter.
This is just for the quarter.
Yes, January to March.
January to March. Then for the ECRIMS, the annual share out is above 3 million. This is ZWEs that were shared out amongst the 1,841 groups. So Fungai, with all these savings, have we seen any transformation of these communities, and what sort of transformation are we seeing in these communities?
Okay, in terms of transformation, yeah, we have seen a lot of transformation for sure. Most members of the VSNLs are reporting improvement in their livelihoods, improvement in their way of living. For example, we have some who are actually, as you heard from Joseph, some are buying their livestock using the savings, and in addition to saving in form of the assets, some are building houses, some are sending their children to school. We have actually a testimony of a community member who indicated that I sent my child to university using proceeds from the ISALs. So it's really something which is helping the communities, because on his own, an individual may not be able to have such kind of money at a go. So by means of the ISALs, they can actually also borrow from the fund, the savings. They can also do income generating activities that can help them to improve their way of living.
Thank you so much. So from the contributions that you have made, we can conclude that there is a need for financial services in the communal areas, would you say?
Yes, there is a need. Actually, it's actually improving the access to income and financial services, especially the women. They actually testify that previously, before the ISALs, I would not have been able to access any form of finance. So with the ISALs, they also managed to access finance. And before actually the changes in policies, some would actually say, I managed to open a bank account. I also now have a bank card that I can also go and save my money and withdraw when I need it. So, yeah.
So are these ISAL groups satisfying the financial need in these communities, or there's still a gap?
I feel there's still a gap. There's need for improvement, actually, and also we need to do more in terms of satisfying the communities. If actually the communities can also have access to loans and other financial services, I think it can improve in terms of access to finance.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn to Mr. Chitambo from ZAMF. I think from what we have heard from Fungai, there is a need for financial services amongst the communities. Of course, the savings groups, they are partially trying to cover that gap. Has ZAMF or some of your members had interactions with ISAL groups, and what sort of interaction do they have?
Thank you very much. Most of our members, for obvious reasons, I think, they operate mostly urban, peri-urban, and then whilst we are very sure that we are needed more in the rural areas, we normally have a challenge, especially in the last 20 years. When the economy takes a very bad negative projection, then we have a problem in the rural areas. So what we have tried to do is that, firstly, ISALs, they graduate into SACCOs. And we've looked at SACCOs as the flip side of microfinance institutions. Mm-hmm. That's why we used to have NASCOs, the apex body of SACCOs. I think they're still there somewhere. I'm very sure they are there. Mm-hmm. They may just be underground, but they are there. You know, some trains move underground, but they'll be moving. So we look at it as a partnership and I will use the word which everybody likes these days, in financial inclusion. I think people are now talking about financial inclusion. It has been there all along, but we believe that when ISOs, either in their current form or when they are now circles, they provide a very lucrative issue, firstly, for financial inclusion. Secondly, for rural financial intermediation, because they are domiciled in the rural areas. They, whatever, they stay there. In our case, some of our members, yes, eventually they will do offices in rural areas, but normally they are either in growth points or towns and whatever. So what we normally prefer with the ISOs or SACCOs, that they produce the first layer of financial literacy. Money is a very difficult issue. Money is difficult. I think somewhere the good book says too much love of money is the source of all evil. And I agree, money is a problem. People are afraid sometimes, to borrow, to approach a bank. Because before 1980, women, you are aware that you were minors from the cradle to the grave. You are aware that for you to open a bank account and to go with your son, who was a man, to open a bank account, then he says, I stand to say this woman is sober-minded, is safe and sound. So we had the problems, and we still have problems of how do people, women and the youth. So these guys, they do a good job. They do the foundation. They're the ECD, they're the grade ones. It's just we take them at the Form 4. The job is done at this level. Even if I was Minister of Education, I would pay a primary teacher much more than a secondary school teacher. But a child in Goromozi knows I'm here to learn. But a child at ECD thinks I'm here to play. The teacher must now tell him, you play for this, you write, you sleep, you eat, whatever. So they give us the first stronghold or just a foothold on the ladder for financial inclusion. That's one. Two, we look at them as part of the model, the graduation model. As they are saying, their job is not to be the alpha and omega in financial inclusion. Us now, we are saying when these people have reached a certain level of maturity and understanding, because they are specialists in one thing, we are also in another thing. We would be happy to say if their clients now do want a little bit of bigger loans or bigger monies, then they come to us. These ones, they keep on doing the same thing. Even in education, the teachers who teach grade 1, maybe after grade 4, they go back to grade 1. They normally don't go up to Form 4. Somebody does something. So it's a graduation model to us, without which we would find it extremely difficult to penetrate rural areas, people whom we don't know, and we say we've come here to give you a loan. Because we must educate them. What is a loan? People believe that microfinance, micro interest rates, micro whatever. No. This is business. So somebody must tell them that when you want to borrow, my friend, you must do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think for our members, the service which is being done by institutions like CARE and the like, it's only that the train is somewhere along the line. Instead of us keep on hooked like this, the engine and then the other, they are no longer seeing each other. And I think it's something, because we are here to look for business for members. And this is business from the point of view. Yeah, because then after that, we go into the raw areas, then the governor will talk about good issues, financial, agriculture, whatever. But I think we are looking at financial inclusion. We are looking at the graduation model. Furthermore, We also believe that it gives an opportunity for women, I don't know about the youth, to put their money somewhere. You know, Sewas Bank in India, it was not formed because they wanted to do a lot of business. It was because they wanted to protect their money from their husbands. I'm telling the truth. Read the Sewas issue. Women would do their projects and get money in the evening. The father would say, can you put the money on the table? Then they are portion. This one we buy a goat, this one we buy school fees, this one we drink it in the morning, this one, you know, so the women wanted somewhere just to put their money. So they formed the Savers Bank. So in this particular case also, if properly done, women can do whatever. When they get the money, it goes somewhere. And they know that this treasurer who keeps the money, the treasurer is going to say 17 members herself, she won't steal. So it's a safe. They're already learning how to bank. They are banking already. And I think when we share out, I don't know, that's a withdrawal, I don't know, you know, in a very down-to-earth manner. So I think for now, because I still need to drink the water, I'll keep quiet and you can give my colleagues something to say.
Okay, maybe one question is I would want to understand with the experience in Zimbabwe, with the groups that your members have interacted with, is the relationship working currently as we speak? Are you still giving out loans? We understand projects like the ACRAS agreement that K is implementing, they have a time frame. Do you see the relationship working post the project?
As of now, a lot has happened from 2008. I think a lot, and it's to use the term it's vacillating. You know, it's going this way and that way. So we are not very sure because the target is a moving target. Whether it's working right now, I don't know, because what I've said is that, or what I know is that when the economy is doing very badly, our members, they retreat from the raw areas. Because I think in 2008, you will have to agree with me, because you were one of us. In 2008, our members would not even get enough to put in a motorbike to visit a project in the raw areas. So we stopped going to the raw areas. Then when 2010 came, 2010 came with a very short term US dollar mentality, because the wolf was still at the door. So what people were doing was lend out for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Take the money, put under the pillow. And you see what happens next. Because this man of the quintillions, you know, it gave us shivers. I think that money gave us more shivers than COVID, you know, because the minister could not even read the quintillion. That's a figure which we didn't want ever to hear. So we're the problem now to say, if our members just want to give it 30, 60, 90, what serious agricultural business would we be financing the raw areas? The answer is no. I think maybe only broilers. They had majority of the road runners, I think they need even that. So the link got broken there. The raw area projects, they need a little bit of a longer period. I think in Mbuzi, how many months of pregnancy? 141 days of pregnancy. Who knows goats? You know, you talked about goats yourself. That's so. Yeah, so if you give it for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we are not assisting even anybody, you know, for, yeah. So the link, my friend, the link, I'm not sure where it is, but after 3:30, when I go back, I need to establish. Yes, because I report back to my members. Yeah. I need to just, actually, I was not even going to come today because I had a very bad cough, but I wanted to come and find out where did we lose it? Because as I'm saying, even the care people don't know. Is the office still in Belarus? No, you see, I don't even know where they are.
The link is truly broken.
Do you know my office? Do you know me? Now you know me, we can shake hands.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Chitambo from Zambia. Thanks for confirming that the link is broken. I think this is the call for this forum to try to find how best we can link the formal and this rural savings group. I'm going to turn to Mr. Godfrey Chinoera from ZADT. How have been your programs interacting with ISOs? We have heard from some that the link is broken. How's ZADT doing with the ISOs?
Thank you very much. And as I said, I'm very much humbled to be here in the midst of people with so much experience in ISOs. As ZADT, we have been managing a fund for a couple of years from 2012. And our interaction with ISOs has been through microfinance institutions. And I think a lot has already been said by Mr. Chitambo. We have experience of one in our portfolio that did very well. In fact, they transformed from just being an ISO into a partnership, and but they into a business venture, and they've been doing contracting services in the areas that they are. So that was a success story. The others, I think what we have seen with them, perhaps scale, their operational, maybe governance issues that did affect them. But let me then move on to talk about something else related. So from our experiences, ZADT and our trust, which is really to support the commercialization of smallholder farmers and the support of SME businesses that are on value chains that operate on which smallholder farmers operate. And we also look at things from a financial inclusion perspective as ZADT. When Mr. Chitambo talked about 2008, of course, the environment was bad. But we have also seen a turn in events as a country. Just about end of 2016, 2017, 2018, we could feel the shivers. But in 2019, you know what happened in terms of the de-dollarization. And we have changed our model as ZADT, where rather than just pursuing a transactional model where we were lending through microfinance institutions and banks, as ZADT, we're also focusing on lending directly. Let me use the word investing directly. We don't have a banker's lending license in the banking sense. So we do invest directly. And we, in terms of then supporting the value chains on which some of the target groups, especially the youth and women, are located, we see the importance of ISOs as ZADT. And in our programming, I've already said this is also a learning platform for us because we've seen potential in terms of supporting ISOs so that they can also contribute to the work that we are doing as ZADT in terms of financial inclusion and supporting women and youth. We look at things from a commercialization perspective. And we are happy with the little experiences that we have had that actually they can actually be a vehicle for commercialization at the micro level. And what we also see is that we talk of how they can be assisted in terms of loans, but we are looking at how differently can we actually partner with them so that we strengthen them to be able to effectively be an agent of change or contribution to commercialization of the rural youth and women, who are important, because in terms of transforming agriculture, unless you look at it from the very best, you actually be, maybe not doing well to the hand that actually lays the eggs. Because if we are looking at development, we need to look at this. So we see the potential as ZADT in terms of supporting that. Just to give you an insight into what we are looking at in terms of establishing, as part of our operation, an incubator system. And we see in terms of the target groups that we would like to support, the ISOs playing a very pivotal role. Yeah, perhaps let me stop there. Yeah, so that I give time to reflection.
Okay. So thank you for that. So how does an ISO group in Chiredzi get information about ZADT as a potential investor? How have you been reaching, and have you seen any direct investment requests from ISO groups of late?
Well, you kept your question by saying of late. No, we haven't. we haven't seen requests of late coming to us directly. Mm-hmm. But I must say, in the recent past, mm-hmm, we had lots of requests coming direct to us. Okay. And I must say, on that basis, and we have worked, tried something with care. But I think the limitation also was our transactional model, where we were really looking at it from a loan and credit perspective. This is why I said to you, unless we are creative enough to look at other ways of blending our finance so that we have other instruments that are more appropriate for them. We have, as we say, I think it has already been said, yeah, the elephant in the room. We're looking at how do they preserve, their savings. And somebody was talking about, buying livestock, but you want to look at that in respect of the business that they are doing. Huh? When you look at it from my colleague there as a microfinance institution, when they go in there, they are looking at the business. Huh? What is it that is, and how do they pay? So the ways of then preserving funding, ensuring that you don't erode your funding, and so all those things are important. Sometimes just going there by way of providing credit will not obviously be suitable for that kind of model. So not of late, but we see there's potential, and we believe that together with contribution here, and obviously more learning. I don't want to say this, I said it's not been an area, but with more learning, we believe as ZADT there's very much potential, and with our flexibility in terms of support, in terms of product development and financing instruments, I think there is quite a lot of potential for us to be partnering.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Chinoera from ZADT. So I think from having listened to all the three panelists, I can say that there is a case for collaboration between ISOs and the formal finance institutions. So I would want to start with you, Mr. Chitambo. Are there any policy or any barriers that are hindering this collaboration? I heard you talk about ISOs being the first educator of financial literacy, playing that role there to educate communities on what lending is like, borrowing and repaying the loan. What are the barriers that, from your view and your experience, that are inhibiting this collaboration?
I know the biggest barrier is COVID. Well, we must blame someone. We must blame someone, you know. I think it's COVID. But on a serious note, to be frank with you, there is no policy which is prohibiting us from getting closer to where we should be. There's no policy at all. I think this I would need to be very, very clear. I think what is lacking is just that in the financial inclusion value chain, I think we have not really invested in understanding each other. Like as I'm saying, it seems we only knew care. And in care, we only knew one person. But I think to remember, I think we were still in. There's actually when we went to NAST to address NAST banking and whatever students, and we brought in care because we knew that the model they were using, it was a very good model for even the students to understand, because the students wanted to understand microfinance. But we thought they should also understand even the grassroots level. So we have always seen a scope. The traction was there, but I think it was, call it first, mailed later, with a few thunderstorms. That's what I hear on the TV every day. In Epwethum, I used to see those groups, and I used to see our members tapping into those groups. But I think we just didn't take it to the next level, to quote unquote other people from other sources. We didn't take it to the second level or the next level. What we needed to do, we needed to look at the ISOs and their promoters as business for us. Yes. I think that's what we need to look. It's a business for us. In their case, what I think maybe they also had the fears. They should do hand over ISOs which are mature. Because if they do premature borrowing, it can kill them. And then these ones, they go back, they rotate on the same area over and over again. So I think we need mature ISOs. We need a collaboration where now they say, look, these are mature ISOs. They might be ready, not they are ready, they might be ready, And then, because even what they are doing right now, I think value preservation. I will tell you, I think they are doing a lot of financial gymnastics, these guys. And I think on this note, I need to give you, yeah, because you see, those groups, assuming they were just getting loans from us, and they do whatever it is, and the economy capsizes like it does once in a while, then they will be back to zero. And all the gains, which these people they've worked for. But I think they are working with the group financial place. There's no policy which prohibits us. The policy is just in our hard disks here. We have chosen in order to see them as a business, but as I'm saying, it's a fundamental, but unfortunately we are married. I would have actually gone together with it, but we start on a very good footing, But I think after here, we will see maybe in one of our, we do have members meetings every 4 or 5 months. The next one I know is on the 16th of June this year. It's virtual. So I think we can invite anybody just to try and say, how do we resuscitate? Also, we've got some very new MFIs who do not know the history of ourselves, who do not know that at one stage we were very good to colleagues. So I think we might want to resuscitate. So I think that one is not a problem. There's no policy which prohibits me from doing that. So 16th of June, let's make a date. It depends how appetizing we make it. But to answer you, there's no, apart from, as I said, apart from COVID, there's no other. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Chitambo, for that contribution. And Fungai, maybe from your experience, what are the groups saying, and maybe from your views, what are the barriers for them not to be interacting with the formal finance institutions? From your experience coming from the field, we have heard from the formal side, the MFIs, that from their point, maybe it's just willingness to, they didn't see this as business. Maybe it's because of the remote location, I don't know. But from your experience and perspective, what are the barriers that are preventing the collaboration to happen between the rural savings groups and the formal finance?
From my perspective, I think maybe also as organizations, we have not also taken that deliberate effort to link the groups to the microfinance institutions, and also maybe to say these economic challenges, and I think have also contributed a lot in terms of even the groups' faith in the currencies and changing of currencies. We at times are faced actually some challenges when most of our groups, they almost like stopped saving because the changes in currencies and so forth. They just woke up tomorrow, all their savings are eroded. So those are some of the challenges also. So like when my colleague was talking of communities saving in assets and so forth, it was actually a way of adapting to the environment that was prevailing. That's when they started to sort of save in assets and so forth, giving each other cattle, goats or a chicken, because the currency was not that conducive for saving. But I'm glad to say now, because of the multi-currency that we have now, they've now revived the groups and they continue saving. So I think basically those were some of the challenges. Thank you.
Mr. Schneider from ZADT, any barriers from my experience?
Well, I think when you talk of barriers with the financial services sector, I think pretty much it's to do with currency issues. I would tell you in terms of what I see related to business, to their businesses. If I talk of one that I say to experience, I think what we saw there is that they started well and they developed into a partnership, some of the members, and then they started to borrow as a partnership. And even as a partnership, they continued to make more savings on their own, which they could sort of co-fund, with the borrowing, which is a very good model. But somehow there tends to be a disconnect when it then comes to linking with the financial services sector because of the requirements and the conditions, especially when it is credit. And this is where most then falter. So there is not really any policy prohibiting. But you see, whenever it becomes that relationship, and we are seeing it ourselves, we are in partnership with SNV there on the OYE project, and we are handling the access to finance window of that project. And we do realize that some of the initiatives that we are funding, they coming from small players, the youth, their small businesses, are not those that would ordinarily see, light at the bank or at the microfinance institution. So there are no policies, but what I think is a combination of a number of things that needs to be done. And I'm happy that there are players here who are obviously training the groups, but over and above that, I think it also needs to go beyond that to be maybe partnering these VSLAs with maybe a mentoring, a business mentoring and training and business mentoring, entrepreneurship development kind of program that and supported by appropriate financial instruments at that point, which are probably may not just be credit and others, to position them so that they can properly link with the former financial services sector. It is said what we experience in our environment, and I don't want to blame the financial services players, but also the strict regulation in Zimbabwe in terms of, they are regulated very strictly in terms of the collateral issues, security, in terms of the provisions and so forth. There's a banker there from CBZ, they will tell you how regulated they are in that. So some of the wishes that we have, and by the way, I'm talking as one who used to sit on the other side as a banker. Now I understand some of the wishes we have in the development sector, as good as they are, it is very difficult to then get it through, with the form of financial services sector. So let it be a partnership. Let it be a partnership with be able to play a role in terms of positioning or bridging the gap between the formal financial service sector and some of these groups. And these are the gaps we need to. And as I said, a lot of interventions, not only from us, but from partners here. Like a partnership that I've mentioned, for example, with which we are doing with SNB, provides an opportunity for us to broaden our scope and even bring ISOs into such programs. That's what I believe. Otherwise, there is no policy prohibiting. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chinoera. So I'm going to turn to Zamf and ZAD team. K has nurtured an ISO group which has matured. How can or how might the formal finance support such a group?
Oh, I'm Zamf. Sorry.
Zamf. We'll start with Zamf.
Sorry.
We'll give Ms. Chinoera some breathing time.
Yeah, I think the first point, of course, is that we need to know. Because we don't know, we don't know where these groups are, we don't know what they are doing, we don't know their requirements, we don't know the state of readiness at which they are. Yeah, because I think once we know, they have a database somewhere along the line. What I was talking about, if I was talking this from the top of his head, it means he's got it somewhere on the laptop. He knows where the groups are. And I think it's now, as I said, we must activate ourselves to say, look, there is business out there. We are talking about the rural, we are talking about agriculture, we are talking this and this. And of course, there are even some very new, innovative policies coming through. I think this collateral registry, which I think is almost there. I know it has been in incubation for about 4 or 5 years now. But that one would also liberate some of the dead capital, which you see in the rural areas. I think areas like Gwanda, which there was something from Matisamu. Those boys have got goats, a lot of goats. the goats are doing nothing except from producing manure only, you know. So with this collateral registry, in their groups now, they can use 18 goats to secure a loan. So we go around the rigidness of the provisioning. I think women, some of you, I think there are no mothers yet here, but if there are mothers, you know, Mumbai is a useless thing. Yeah, because it actually causes problems when you die, whether it belongs here or there. But now a woman can take that because it's hers. She can seed it either through TN livestock trust or through someone else and borrow it as she wishes. The default as she wishes because it's hers. Let her experiment. Yes, this is financial. I mean, well, anyway, all right. Yeah, so I'm saying that there's some very innovative issues coming up, which I think are now at our disposal to sort of interrogate and say, what does this mean in terms of going through some of the quote unquote the prohibitions which we're seeing. But otherwise, the issue is, as I'm saying, once we know where they are, once we know their requirements, and then we decide, because our members then will decide whether they want to go into that business or not. We tried with the central bank at the time when Dr. Itoy was still the deputy governor. They would tell us where functional irrigation schemes were. You know, Ministry of Lands and whatever would come and say, in Rio Tinto, wherever, these are irrigations. They are functional. There's an agri-tax officer who is in charge to show these people how to do whatever. And our members only would say, okay, me, I'm interested in this. So you know where to go. We don't go around and look at which dam is working, which dam is not working. That's not our job. It costs money, and we don't have. So in their case, we also cannot go, you know, in the raw areas as if we're hunting for a churu, but where the ice house, whatever. If we know where they are, to be frank with you, I think you know to buy a little bit of breathing space. You know, we are tired of being labeled that we just want to lend to civil servants. I think we are now known the one civil servants because no, we also want where we can be said we have added. We want the impact. You know, and the impact is not financial inclusion is not to lend to civil servant because already an account with that. Impact would be to take somebody from somewhere and say, look, we've done our part from this to this, and then maybe even let them graduate to proper commercial banking. So I think the first issue we need, my colleague, is to find out. And I think, as I said, after this meeting, we certainly shall interrogate each other and find out where is the baby. We are looking for the baby. Is it in the stomach? Is it now outside? It's outside Ngawi.
Thank you so much.
And as the good book says, come, let's listen together.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Tam. Ms. Chinoera, how might the formal financial sector support a mature ISOL group?
Well, that is a very difficult question, eh? And I will explain why it is a difficult question, because it is not answered in one word, as I said. One of the things that I must say, and I'm proud of as ZADT, is that whilst we don't just give out money, but we have been involved and are still involved in piloting initiatives, kind of proving concept, you know, that this concept works. There is one, you know, I just 2 weeks ago, I was talking to Minister Masuka about the Pumvudza, which we actually piloted with ZADT money through CBZ Bank. in Makoni district and Mrewa district. And you know that is now a national program. So this is one of the things that we do. As I said, there is the formal. That's why I said it cannot be answered in one. There is the formal. No, you don't just get to the formal in one. You can't just get to the formal. What is it that you need to do to get to the formal? Yeah. And for us, we are really, it's a gap. We have always been like that as a DDT. Our funding has been to support initiatives that are excluded so that, they can be scaled up by those with deeper pockets. Yeah. So for me, I think a collaboration is really needed to get them to the formal. And the reason I was excited to be part of this conversation, because it's something that we are thinking about. And you said if a proposal was going to be brought of a mature VSLA, I would say at this juncture, I would be happy to have a look at it and collaborate with some partners here. I always believe taking risks, which is our advantage. That's why I mentioned that we operate in the space where we can test concepts, prove concepts and finance concepts. So I would like, I'm not saying I have the solution, but if such a proposal is going to come, I would really want to sit down and collaborate with partners here to see how we can actually position it so that it is attractive to a bank or a microfinance institutions in that sense. There's somebody there sitting there from EcoCash. You know, all these players are important in terms of then when you are looking at a model of how you can really. But as ZADT, I would be prepared, obviously, also to test it with our own money to see how it works.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chinoera, for that response. Fungai, will you be interested in sharing the database of the over 2,000 beneficiaries that K is supporting and collaborating with the MFIs and the formal banking sector?
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, I would say we'll be interested. And like as you were saying, of proof of concept to say, yeah, this really works. I can give an example of a microfinance that we are working with actually to support our farmers. It's not really specifically on BSNLs, but currently we are working with First Mutual. They are partnering with other private players and also our farmers in terms those who are doing pen fattening, and they give loans to the farmers through the private partner, and then at the end of the season when the farmers sell their cattle to the abattoirs, they recover their money, and this have worked very well, I think, for 2 years now. So I think it's something that that can actually work when we also rope in our ISOs to do the same. Right. Yeah, it's a concept that we have proved it works.
All right.
Thank you.
But I want to warn you, and I know the guy's called Max Ngobanditega.
Yeah.
He's in the only likes meat. He might kill all the and eat all of them, you know. So please make sure that there is always leniency on this. I know it's very true, but please don't tell them about eating the cows. You know the very people. When you meet, you can't trust them. When the power sharing, it's okay.
All right, thank you so much. A round of applause to the panel. So we have done the first part, the first session of the panel discussion. I'm gonna open this time to questions for the panel. I'll start with the audience in the room. Then I'll also check questions from our participants who are participating online. Do we have any questions coming from the audience? You were first.
Thank you so much. I think we are making an assumption that when we establish ourselves, they want to go borrowing. They want to be formalized, which may be a wrong assumption.
Yeah.
And as Mr. Chitambo started, well, Mr. Chitambo is representing Zambia, and we used to work with Zambia. And there was also a parallel association, NASCUS,
yes,
where people could graduate with no links to borrowing. So that's the first thing. That when people come together, the main purpose is to save their money and use their savings to lend to each other. And probably that's what they want. And then we have another model, which is used by AFC. We used to work with AFC. They have the group lending. And those who are in the rural areas who want to borrow can then come together, form a group, approach either a microfinance institution or AFC. Because when they then come together for the purposes of borrowing, the attributes that are being looked at are different from the attributes of coming together to sell. Because they are saying, do you have the capacity to pay? What business are you doing? Yeah? So they go and approach a formal financial institution and borrow under the group concept. And even in the rural, in the urban areas, we have WFP supporting ISOs in the urban areas. People who are coming from big banks, but they join ISOs. Like what Mr. Chitambo said, they want to save their money and later share their money. But as individuals, they also have bank accounts. So all I'm saying to you is, we are making, probably, I don't know, Care can tell us, whether that's the way they want to go, or they are happy with the model, pulling their resources together, saving their money, lending to each other. What we would want from Care is, as they lend to each other, we've heard so many stories of rural people not paying. Do they also not pay their own money? That's my question to Care.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Tagay. Questions, then I allow the panel to answer. Second.
Thank you very much for your contributions. My question is about the digitalization of financial services. In other countries in the region, digital apps have played a key role to foster these linkages between the village saving and lending groups and formal banking, including Care has some experience developing app products. I'm happy to hear your views about that and how you see this potential in a country like Zimbabwe. And I have another question, if I may.
Okay.
It's about the experience, more question for Care. It's about your experience in including young women in village saving and lending groups. My experience is that it works well for older women, but sometimes for younger women who have so many already activities and responsibility on their shoulders and have this issue of suffering from time poverty, is actually difficult to attend weekly sessions. So we'll be happy to hear from Care what is your experience in including young women in the groups. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'll take, all right, the last one, which comes for questions.
It's,
maybe you can introduce, I didn't allow participants to first introduce your name. So, okay.
Just first, maybe just a comment. I see there's quite some money in ISOs. They shared the aspect of saying that in a quarter they talk of 992,000 rands. That's a lot of money. It's just a small area, and if you look at it, this area of the country, it's quite a big industry that is out there that probably may need to actually be exploited. But maybe my issue goes to maybe something that's almost close to what he brings up, aspect of saying, do we really look at formalizing or linking it to the formal economy? Do they want to? Because sometimes you realize that this informality is what keeps them going. Because, for instance, if they are actually serving, they are able to serve in whatever currency they want to, and no one can come through and stop them from actually doing it. So probably it's a way of them running away from the many regulations. I think Chinoera actually referred to the many regulations that the big institutions like CPZ and the MFIs would actually go through, compared to what these institutions would actually put into. So I think the issue is now, for me, the big question would be, why exactly do we want them to link to the formal sector? What advantages are there? I think, to me, those are the critical questions that we need to field and be able to actually answer. Otherwise, they are good as informal sector. If you look at the history of NAC schools, they had massive numbers of credit cooperatives that were within them, and they were getting a lot of money out of that. But is there need for us to formalize them? So those probably are some of the questions that we may need to actually field in the answers.
All right, thank you. I'll turn to the panel. I'll take the next set of 3 questions. Fungai, I think number 1 and 4, they are directed to K. Is there, are the groups, is there an objective of borrowing? Do the groups want to borrow, or they are content with savings that they are having and the lendings at the communal level?
Maybe my answer would be yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah, because it differs with groups. You'd realize that some are content actually with continuing saving and lending at a local level, at micro level. But you realize there are also some groups who have also grown bigger, who are actually looking at investing in something big. Yeah, those groups may actually need some loans, and someone was asking on issues of challenges in terms of returning loans. Those groups, I mean, they actually have very strong constitutions which bind them at local level with their community leadership. So, of course, we may find some few cases here and there, but we don't regularly experience such issues. So, like I said, my answer will be a yes and no.
So, what proportion, what percentage of your groups would say they are interested in borrowing from the formal financial sector? Maybe just an estimate.
In terms of percentage, I think my colleagues can assist me. They are mostly in touch with the groups.
So I'll respond to his first question in terms of, are they really interested in the borrowing or being linked to microfinance? Yes, Fungai was right that yes, yes and no, because normally it depends on the main objective why these people come together. That's the first question. That some they can just come together just for cohesion. Also, it also depends on the major activities which made these people come together. Some of them, they come together mainly focusing on a certain income generating activity. But because they don't have the finance to start that income generating activity, so it means they have to start saving to support the income generating activity. So it means their interest mainly is not to do the saving, but to start a poultry project. As soon as that poultry project is now up and running, it means maybe they can now stop saving. The other also perspective is on the growth of the groups. If you start with the groups, maybe after 18 months, that's when we classify them as a mature group. The only way they were raising that money is through the lending, which is charging each other some interest. But because they were involved in when they were charging each other interest, for them to pay back the interest, they have to be doing some business. Now we focus on how can that business now grow. That business now cannot grow with the little amount of money which they are borrowing among themselves. But they now require another external financer to chip in to support that income generating activity. So There are growers which are involved in lucrative income generating activities. They want the village service they lend is just a startup capital for them, for their business. So they want external financiers to actually come in to support their business.
All right, thank you, Obet. But you talked about 1,000 plus groups. What proportion of the 1,000 would you say are interested in borrowing, who are not satisfied?
Okay,
just say.
So in terms of the maturity, you'll find mostly 40% of the groups, they reach the maturity throughout the project's life cycle. 60% of them, they mainly concentrate on savings and maybe are also aligned to a certain garden or a certain activity which they are doing. And they would want to remain doing that without an external financing.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we are looking at about 40% of the ISOL groups. Those are the ones that are going to maturity. Mr. Chitambo, there was a question on digitalization. You talked about when the things turned with the economy and it was very expensive to get to the rural areas and your members retreated into urban and peri-urban areas. Have your members looked around digitalization as a solution to reach the groups? What has been the experience with digitalization?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Madam, for raising that very pertinent and structural issue in the development of microfinance. You know, I've got the winter school coming in July, and one of the topics we have said was COVID a wake-up call, or COVID was a case, and I think COVID was a wake-up call, especially in terms of what she's talking about. You know, for the past 4 years, we've been playing lip service about this issue, about digitalization, you know, we want to do this, and we never did a spirited run on that issue. So when COVID came in, we started saying, these people, we can't find them, so they pay us our loans, we can't disperse. We should have been doing that, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. If we had done that on time, I think we would have minimized our losses under COVID. We have done 3 very powerful presentations and discussions on digitalization. This one, Nyakwawa, Gerald Nyakwawa, I think you know him. Yeah, last time you invited him to a winter school, he came. This year, I think we are bringing Kahonde from Belgium, he's a Zimbabwean. You know Kahonde, so. Yeah, I think you're on holiday, so we are just catching him, you know, the state capture is coming into us, so we are capturing him. We are trying to say, guys, this is thing we should have done almost 20 years ago. So, yes, Madam, I'll remember to re-emphasize that COVID showed us a very strong shortcoming on us. Even these issues, you know, I think, well, I don't know what to say anymore because I never argue with the ladies, so you've got a very good. But in terms of whether they should borrow or not, it's not our intention to let every ISOL borrow from because the borrowing, as I said, you can, when you borrow, sometimes your problem are starting. It's not ending. Sometimes when you borrow, your problem started. But the good part is that is my colleague with a bold head. I don't know your 2 names, but we are all Obed, sorry, Obed. Because Obed is saying already these people, they are lending from each other. They are lending and paying, you see. So the culture is already there. They are entrepreneurs. The culture is always there. It's already there. So we find it easier to pick it from somewhere where they are already operating at this level. But yes, we have actually seen some groups split, where some want to borrow, some they don't want to borrow. So I think it's not our desire that everybody borrows. But because you called me here, you have not, I know your time is running out. In terms of financial inclusion development in the country, the Act actually says that when the SACCOs, which are then higher, when SACCOs have reached a certain level of development, they should go under the prudential regulation of the central bank. no longer the ministry, but the ministry is another issue. So I'm saying that in the bigger picture, ISOs and the SACCOs, they are there. It's a matter of activating, but it's there. You are covered, because the history which we hear sometimes, although that's not what you are saying, the history which you hear is that SACCOs and ISOs, they are good at creating their money and eating their money and quarreling among themselves and then dissolving themselves. So, but what I'm saying is the system already says when you've reached a certain level of SACCO development and you are now having portfolios which are a certain level, then the central bank takes over, because you now have what goes systemic, yeah, I don't know the word, but you know the word yourself. Yeah, so I think we are not talking about small issues, we're talking about really big issues here. And I think those are big issues which we just need to activate and find out. But otherwise, the platform is there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Chitambo. Maybe I'll give EcoCash, the facilitator's privilege to talk about your savings clubs. I'm aware there is the savings clubs and the Kashagi, which is more of digitalization of some of these savings clubs. But I'll give you time after I've taken a question from the online platform. We have heard that ZADT partners and want to work with mature groups. They also want to know where the groups were to find. They also want to know where the groups are. Are there any other specifics that they look in a group before investing in it? What are the requirements apart from knowing where the groups are and finding the groups?
Well, I think the way the question is framed, can I put it a bit differently in terms of answering? So we are not directly looking for groups ourselves, but as part of our strategic thrust, we have realized that we need to work in collaboration, in partnerships with institutions. As I said, we are looking at this from an access to finance perspective ourselves. So there needs to be some prior organization. This is why I'm saying I'm happy that there are partners here. We can then partner with to look at the groups. Obviously the group needs to be organized, but I'm shy to say we look at it because it would be appearing as if we are actively looking for groups. We are actively looking for partnerships that are working with these groups, so that we can see how we collaborate.
All right, thank you so much. Vincent, from the online platform, I saw you had your hand up. Can you kindly send the question through in the chat box? We had an issue with our sound. So all participants who are participating online, can you kindly send your questions through the chat box? Fungai, there's one question which you didn't answer about your experience, including the young ladies in ISOs.
Oh, okay. Apologies for that. Maybe to say, when we started with the ISOs, surely they mainly consisted of older women, mainly the older women. But as we moved on, training the communities, capacitating them, and also them realizing the benefits from the ISOs, we started to see young women actually joining the ISOs, and also men. We have a bigger component of men now joining because they are seeing the financial benefit. You know, the youth and men, they are almost like similar in terms of doing something which they see a financial benefit, especially an immediate one. So I can safely say that we now have a lot of youth that are participating in the ISOs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give Sophia an opportunity before I take the next round of questions, because I'm aware that EcoCash had some digitalization efforts around ISOs.
Thank you very much. Sophia, would it be okay to come to the front?
The microphones are here.
It's fine, she can sit there. She can sit there.
Yeah, you can
Oh,
sit.
okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for saying that men are also participating.
Yeah. They are.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. So on EcoCash, we introduced savings clubs initially for individuals. That's on the mobile wallet. So what we'll then do is to allow somebody to transfer part of the balance that they have on their EcoCash wallet into a savings account. Then they could earn interest then. I'm speaking in the past, but the service is still available. We've just only suspended it so that we can also be in tandem with the developments that are happening. We've got savings groups that have asked us to add US dollar savings on the mobile wallet. So that's what we're working on activating at the moment. So after introducing individual savings, we then went on to work with some of the NGOs to roll out savings groups on the mobile phone. So we then educate them on, for some of them, it was actually how to use a mobile phone back then. And for others, it was just the education on how to save on the mobile phone. So we'd actually go into the field with the various NGOs that we're working with, stated groups in the different areas, just to educate them on the service. So we had groups that, like she said, most of them it was women. So you'd find maybe in a group of 20, you'd find one man for starters. But as time went on, the number of men also improved. It actually grew in some of the groups. So you had groups that were saving just to put money together. They would get together at the end of the month to buy groceries together. Others were saving so that they could borrow from the same group, still on the mobile wallet. So initially when we introduced it, we then took into account the structures that were in the different groups where they have a chairperson, a treasurer, a secretary, and we gave them rights on the mobile phone. So the treasurer cannot just take money out on their own. The chairperson or another, or the chairperson or the second person who is the secretary has to approve on the mobile phone. So all those activated on the mobile wallet. This was to assist them with issues to do with safety of funds, security, because with the hard cash, they would tell us that sometimes they wanted to use the money as a group or to lend to a group member, and the treasurer would then just say, I had an emergency in my family and I used the money, so give me time to pay it back, which was not in line with their constitution. So that's one of the things that we assisted with. Then there are others who were saying, I also need history of my savings. So on the EcoCash Savings Club, we can actually generate statements of the individual who's contributing to the club, and also statements for the group. So they want to use that. If they want to use that at a bank, we can also avail that. Then they can use that as a history of their financial standing. Then with regards to lending, we only have lending to the individual, which is the Kashagi service, where I can borrow from my EcoCash wallet, which is also digital. So those are some of the things that we've done on EcoCash, just to digitize the money that people were putting under the pillows. Some were saying, it just disappeared. Others, it was just, maybe dishonesty from a few of the members. But just to say that for the loan repayments, people do pay, especially those who borrow small amounts, they do pay back when they do borrow. I think they honor their contracts.
Thank you so much, Sophia. So indeed, there's some digitalization happening around. I can confirm I've used Kashagi when I was stuck at a toll gate.
Then maybe I could. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Then so you borrowed on Kashagi and you paid your toll gate. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Then for microfinance institutions, we've done some work as well with some of the Zamfi members, where for collection of loans, because I have my monies on my EcoCash and I'm based in a very remote place, but I owe an institution money, I can pay using EcoCash. We just enable the microfinance institution to be able to receive money, and we can transfer to their bank account. So that way, other communities that were excluded can now also make use of the digital services that we offer.
Thank you so much. I'll take the next set of questions, 3 questions. I'll start from here. 1, 2. Correct. Ted Michael.
Thank you so much. My name is Clara Mkosera. I'm from Zimbabwe, Microfinance Bank, where our key mandate is really financial inclusion. So my question or contribution really is directed to K, where we are excited to partner with you. So the question is, would you be interested in partnering with us? We have some money, we've got quite a bit of some money. As you know, we are directly under the government of Zimbabwe, reporting through the Ministry of Human Affairs. What we've noticed from our experience is that working with the groups is the way to go. Because microfinance in its own right is very expensive to actually reach out to the remote areas. So from the current experiences, we've been working with other NGOs in the likes of Vana, Go, World Vision, and so on and so forth. They are huge at training, similar to what you are doing in line with different technical skills, as well as, like business skills, running of business, and so on and so forth. Those mark the greatest of our success stories around working with communities in various groups. So we would definitely be interested in that. And we are saying partnering, you can partner as many as possible so that you can actually then begin to reach out to as many as possible. Through this form of partnerships, in terms of our admin and in terms of monitoring, we've gone way far in terms of the success rate. It's different from going out there as a bank, trying to finance. You would be required to be going back for continuous monitoring, and we don't have that kind of money. So we are available. And just to add on around issues of digital marketing, not to take you down around the EcoCash. As Women's Bank, we are in partnership with Network, and we are rolling out what we call Kataona. It's a mobile-based loan. It's a mobile-based loan, just basically to bridge the gap between today and tomorrow, like he was alluding to around the Kashagi area. But we have found it's more powerful when we are working with groups in their circle models. They remind each other to pay. We tried to do it on a one individual basis. Most people simply threw away the lines and we were not able to find them. So under the group model, under the circle model, that's one way of actually quickly encouraging them to be formalized in one way or the other. So yes, groups are there. They are interested in financial inclusion, where we are looking at savings as one of the needs. We had a real need around the transactional need from the groups and the rural individuals, especially when cash, there are times when cash is just not available for one reason or the other. Zimbabwe is interesting. It changes dynamics in terms of our economic environment. So having access to a bank account by our SACCO members or the SACCOs themselves is actually a need that we've seen, and we continuously then begin to adapt and adjust to what is happening. Like now we are moving towards the domestic foreign accounts, so our SACCOs can actually save their money in their domestic local account. Same applies to the individual. So they begin to have the financial interest in terms of transacting savings as well as borrowing. Borrowing is always an arm to those who would want a bit of a quicker jumpstart. Yes, they've got a tradition in lending to themselves, but we have moved in and encouraged our circles to aim bigger and higher, where we are saying you would want an income generating asset, for example, or grinding mill, things like that. You are in the business of agriculture, you are growing your maize. Value addition in the form of chigayo. So they use their savings from their SACCOs to then deposit for an asset, and we give out loans in the form of assets for them to begin to value add. I just thought I would add.
Thank you so much for that. Fungai, you take that one, and also the other development partners who are in the room, take heed. There are opportunities. They are willing to work with ISOL groups. Take heed of that. We'll take the next question. Keep it short.
Okay. So, Mr. Chitambo, you were talking about how you once went to NAST with K, and I was saying that all this time we are concentrating on those who want the financial literacy rate. But now, how are we then empowering those who should provide the financial literacy? So, because I was a former MSU banking and finance student, and as you get into the market, some of these things are pretty new to us. You know, you just know how to calculate Z4 and WACC and everything. But on the ground, you know, you're now learning that there's ZAMPI, there's IOPZ, there's all these things going on. So is there a way that instead of just concentrating on those that need the financial literacy, we also concentrate on those who in the future, and it's a recent future, 4 years from now, we've got graduates, next year we've got graduates. So how can we empower those people as well so that they are empowered, they know how to provide the financial literacy, you know? My colleagues from social sciences, they come out of graduation knowing that they might have to do field work. You know, those who did the social sciences and everything, they are already programmed to know that, okay, there's some need to go into the field, to go into the rural area. Whilst for us, banking and finance, we are all thinking about becoming a tailor and, you know, dressing formally and everything. So is there a way that we can then also teach those who are supposed to later on teach how to include, you know, the financial literacy and how just inform them about that?
Thank you for that very important question. I was going to ask that Ms. Chitambo about culture. You know, as I was researching about this, I came across that culture that at times MFIs and formal finance sector, they don't take into consideration the cultural aspects of the communities that they work with. I was glad I heard you talk about Mombeo Umai, but do everyone understand the opportunity around those things? You take that question. Vincent from online, you had your hand up. Can you type your question if it's still burning? I'll take Michael's question.
My question is to Kara. What experience has there been in linking ISILs into some sort of maybe association? I was just thinking, you know, with the combined financial cloud, there could be greater financial service provision to the communities, you know, a ward or a district level. Is that a model that's been tried? Or I just remember being really inspired when I heard a guy from Kenya. He was from a savings co-op there, telling us how much money this co-op was handling. So that's my sort of question, linking different assets.
All right, thank you, Michael, for that question. Fungai, we'll start with you since you had two questions. The one from Zimbabwe Women's Bank and from Michael.
Okay, thank you. I'll respond to the first question from my sister from the Women Empower Bank. Yeah, it's something that we can actually look at. I think we need to exchange contacts when you leave this place. But maybe to just say, for us it will be easier because we are already working with the Ministry of Women Affairs. I think my colleague Joseph can testify that we actually had individuals that were asking us to link them with the Women's Bank, and we actually did that through the Ministry of Women Affairs. But those were just individuals. So I think we can do the same with the groups. because this was just on those who were interested in coming to us to say, where can I get a loan? And we would link them with the Zimbabwe Women's Bank. So it's something that we are actually interested in. Yeah, we'll talk. Then Michael's question, experience of linking ISALs to MFIs. This is something that Kay was doing, I think, during the time of Mr. Kakono. And I remember a few MFIs. I'm not sure my colleagues who were in care before me, maybe Obed, if you have that experience.
Yes, I think as care we have had a lot of partnerships with microfinance institutions, and also we have had some of our PSL groups linked to quite a number of microfinance institutions. One of them was CBZ. We had some kind of relationship with them. I think what I can say during that period, we didn't have any problem in terms of the groups accessing the loans. Neither we also have a challenge in terms of them repaying. But maybe what I would just say is maybe this kind of relationship just collapsed maybe within the past 2-3 years, maybe because of the changes that took place maybe in the economy. And for the Zimbabwe Women's Bank, I would like also to confirm that we are partnering with Zimbabwe Women's Bank in Midlands Province with your team coming from Gwen to service Shawan and the groups. And we have quite a number of our groups who have been accessing loans to the extent that later they had to actually hire an intern because the team was coming from Gwen, but because of the demand of the services, they had to hire an intern to service our groups who was based in Shawan. So yes, we've been working with the microfinance and we didn't have much challenges.
So my question is more on linking ISALs. So you've got a whole load of ISALs, maybe in Chireti, linking individual ISALs to each other, so that they can cooperate. Maybe a bigger.
I think at least. So what we've done is we have been developing most of these ISAL into savings and credit cooperatives, and yes, but what we've noted is that it was kind of difficult to actually establish a savings and credit cooperative as a standalone institution, but it was supposed to be linked to a bank. Maybe it was as a requirement and also for the purpose of them to actually handle maybe the huge amounts of money which maybe the SACCO would be handling. So what I can say is for it to work, it was supposed to be linked to a registered a commercial bank. It was part of the requirement. It was also going to make it easier for the groups to easily access their funds.
Okay, I'll stop there.
All right. Thank you so much, the care team. Then maybe before I switch to Ms. Chitambo, there's a question from First Mutual Microfinance for care. Are you collaborating with RBZ on the introduction of collateral registry? This will be critical for linkage. Then can you also share contact details for those who are in Harare so that we can work a workable relationship? That's from First Mutual Microfinance. Are you aware of the animal code, the collateral registry?
I'm not sure my colleagues can.
The problem with finance people is a lot of different terms.
Yeah.
So maybe it's to do with technologies. So that's where the problem is. To say what does it actually, what does the registry means? Maybe that's
all right.
Maybe I can research.
All right. So I'll ask maybe after we'll share the contact details for care team through the MLA platform. Then Ms. Chitambo, maybe if you are aware of the collateral registry, you can answer on that, and as well as how to empower the MFIs and new graduates that are getting into the field.
Thank you. Collateral registry, I think it's it's coming up. Mrs. Mshosho, I think it was in the paper 4 or 5 days ago. But basically what it does, it's saying rather than us being popular for wanting your house or your car when you want to borrow, we've sort of, the country is liberalizing what else you can use. You can use it, I think road runners know. But we can start off at the goats level, cows. You can now say this cow, the material, whatever it is, white here and there. That cow, you now say, I'm using it as security to borrow from XYZ. And it goes into a registry. Terms and conditions applying obvious to say who is going to inoculate it, who is going to dip it, and whatever. It's Antarctica. But if it was in Kira's divorce area, then you even put a tag where you can take and say, good morning, material, today you're not feeling very, very well. You need to look after it. But what is now saying is that cow makes you now borrow, but you cannot use it. You cannot borrow using that same cow. I think that's what he basically is saying. They're saying you've got dead capital, which you are not using. The TV, rather than us taking your TV and putting it in our show, we don't operate we don't sell TVs. We deal in money. We don't want your TV. We take this little number of your TV, put it into a system. TV, this flat TV has been seeded as a security by so and so to this one here. And it's in a system. When you want to use the same TV to borrow from XYZ, the system will say, this TV is already seeded, you see, until you finish paying. So it's a very interesting. You want to add a little bit on that one?
Yeah, I think it's a way of trying to help in terms of expanding the amount of items or assets that we have that can be recognized. So like he's saying, it's actually put into the system if you want to use it as collateral. It now allows, or rather stops, like microfinance institutions from always having to collect assets, cars, and everything else. It's all now done on paper. If it's a vehicle, the asset, the engine number and everything is actually fitted into the system. So you don't have to drive the assets to the microfinance institution, but it allows a bit of liberty in terms of what can be taken as collateral.
So Mombeo Umai has to be tagged.
Yes.
Yes, because it's very modern. You can go to Mozambique tomorrow, so we need to know this. Because you see, the mistake which people do, they think that the borrower is gullible. The borrower is a very clever person, by the way. The borrower is because in 48 hours, you make you part with your asset, which is money. And when he borrows from you, the power game changes. He is now more powerful than you. You now ask him, can you pay? He can refuse, and the act will always tell you that it's very, very difficult to recover. So I think this one, though it liberalizes, it unleashes dead capital. It's a very good, strong way to go. I'm sure the system is now, I think we're doing one with the East Russia, I think because of Ukraine. I think we're now doing with the Ghanaian one, but I'm sure within the next 6-7 months, it should be. So I think it will work very closely with our colleagues here. So yes, we can tell Max Ngombe, I told you that this is the building one. You can tell them that yes, you are operating with the central bank, because I think they will be going and teaching most people. Actually, like we can also link you up with them, but that one is correct. The other one, Madam, don't worry, it's a staff development issue. To use a political word, will be seized with the matter. Will be seized with them. To make sure, yeah, she's very correct, though. I think it's internal. We will have to find out. My program office, I think, will work on how we can capacitate the other. We're capacitating only one side. I think the other one must contribute. But because she's a member of the association, I don't think I want to spend too much of your time. I can see that in 30 minutes' time, you'll be thinking with your eyes closed. So that one will talk, madam, at our level. I think here, let's deal with the structural pertinent issues which I think we cannot discuss internally.
Thank you for confirming that you assist with the matter, because at times you find the ISOLs and the rural groups, they are not confident to get in a bank because the tailor or the person who's serving that person doesn't have the cultural relationship or how to handle with respect, especially, the older men in our culture. Older men and women, they want to be respected, and you are at work, you were taught to do A, B, C, D. You can't adjust. Thank you so much for that. In the interest of time, I'm gonna take the last set of questions, then I'll give the panel an opportunity to say their parting words. If we have truly tried to find a solution on how we can link the informal rural savings group to the formal financial sector. So the last set of questions, if there are any burning ones, Yana, is there another? So that will be the last question.
Mine is directed to Kay in particular. We used to have this online platform whereby we would upload our ISO information, our ISO group information. Maybe some of you know the civics MIS. I don't know if they've come across that one.
Yes.
Oh, that one. So by then it used to be free, and we would access any information for any ISO group around Africa. But as of, I'm sure 2 years back, they're supposed to pay something first for you to make use of that online platform. So I don't know, Kay has always been on the lead when it comes to ISOs. I don't know if we can have, if you can lead on having something for maybe Zimbabwe, so that we can, like our partners can even locate where these groups are and how they are performing, the cycles they've gone through, such information for you to plan on maybe assisting and partnering with them.
Thank you so much, Yana, for that contribution. I think we'll need to get all the practitioners who are in the space of developing ISOs to see how we can develop a platform for Zimbabwe. I think that would be very important in linking the rural ISO groups to formal financial sector.
Sorry, I'm not in the urban ISO, so raw and urban.
Don't worry, you go back to the rural. All right, thank you so much, Yana from WHS, that's Weltonga Yufe. Mr. Chinoera, what are your parting words on this subject, how best we can link the formal financial sector to the rural ISO groups?
Well, thank you. It's been very interesting, the contributions here. I think as I reflect on the different types and different objectives that have come up in terms of the ISOs, I think there is a lot of potential when you look at rural economies and the economics of rural businesses, which involve youth, women, and previously disadvantaged groups. I see the potential of those ISOs that are really looking at commercializing the activities of those target groups. And for me, those really stand a good chance of being linked with the formal financial services players. I talked about, I'm now, if I put my other cap as an economist, as an agricultural economist, I think one of the things you see in rural development, some of the groups that we would like to have supported because they are feeding into markets, and usually banks and microfinance institutions, when they've been looking at contract farming, the hub and spoke model, which is a very good one. But when you dig into the economics of it, you'll find that the cost that the ultimate beneficiaries pays for being in that scheme is much higher than if they would have had a chance to access funding directly. You see what I'm saying? So this is where I see the potential of those ISOs that are looking at productive businesses to be linked. Yeah, then the how question, I've already responded to that. I think I'm happy that there are even financial institutions here that are mentioning that they have funding for them. But I think a collaboration, I go back to collaboration, it's not just knock in and get funding. I think we all have to help in developing them for them to be really at that level. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ngai.
Okay, my last words, I'll begin by saying thank you for organizing such a forum. I've seen a lot of opportunity, especially for partnering. I'm actually seeing that we need to do a lot. We have Mr. Chinoera, he was actually talking of what they're doing. I learned it from here. Also have the Women's Bank and EcoCash and other institutions who are here. Yeah, I saw the need for partnering. It's very important. Is for us to continue capacitating the ISOs, and if we work together with the other financial institutions, I think we'll go far. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we can blame it on COVID. We haven't been meeting. Ms. Chitambo.
Thank you very much. I think I want to echo my colleague, but I'll summarize by saying if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go with others. So I think it's a collaborative issue. What we would want from them is not the whole database. We don't want the whole database. I think they will have to screen and find out the ones, as my colleague was, the ones who want to borrow, the ones who are ready. And then I think we start with the kid, you know. I don't know where Michael got us. I last heard of you, I think, he did about 4 years ago. I don't know which head he pulled my name from, you know. Yeah, but as I said, I don't know, but we are very happy that you have brought this thing back to us, because there are some things which we just resign to fate. Or the ourselves, we can't find them, you know, we don't know where they are, and it's COVID and all that other things. But I think this has been a time very well spent. And I'll speak on behalf of my fellow MFIs who are here. I think, guys, when we go back, 16 June, these guys will be on our forum, on a virtual forum. I think they've already agreed. So I think, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chitam. Sophia from EcoCash, everyone is blaming COVID, and you have some of the digital solutions. What are your parting words on this subject?
Thank you very much. And just to say thank you to everybody. As EcoCash, we are ready with digital solutions that we can offer to the market. We also don't just give you what we already have prepared, but we also take a time to listen to your requirements, and then we can structure something for you. So the opportunities are endless. Let's keep communicating so that we can continue providing solutions for one another. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating, and a round of applause for the panel. All right. Until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you. So just a final word from me. The Market Linkage Association is a network of NGOs and private sector. What we will do as a result of this meeting is to reach out to our NGO development partners and tell them of the opportunity that we're seeing today for these linkages. And then I will share those NGOs who are interested, the details of them with the formal finance organizations represented here today. So thank you to Rodney for facilitating, and to our great panel.
Thank you. Thank you.